Coming up, we'll talk about an interesting program that has to do with one of these. That's straight ahead. Coming up on the Morning Report. Stay with us.
Quick update on the snow. It has definitely subsided a bit now. You can see the plow truck is working hard behind me over here in this parking lot. The snow is not coming down nearly as heavily now, but I do warn you about driving conditions because they are still a bit rough. Many areas are not plowed just yet, and though they should be getting a bit better now as the sun is coming up. Earlier when it was dark, it was very, very frightening.
The serenity is what first strikes you. This part of Acadia National Park is clearly a road less traveled.
And it's a different experience. It is a little bit more quiet, and folks looking for that quieter, more isolated experience tend to be drawn more here than to Bar Harbor.
The 2,300 acres plus on the Schoodic Peninsula were donated to the National Park System back in the 1920s by John G. Moore, a Maine native and Wall Street financier. While some of the land was used as a communication center for the Navy for decades, that land too has been turned back over to the park and now houses the Schoodic Education and Research Center, one of 17 National Park Service research learning centers across the country. An easy climb up the Schoodic Head Trail is rewarded with stunning vistas. The 440-foot peak provides commanding views of Frenchman Bay and Cadillac Mountain to the west.
Oh yeah, sometimes I think the better views are here, looking back at Mount Desert Island for sure.
To make this area more accessible to visitors, the park has done a lot of work here over the last few years. It's added campgrounds, hiking and biking trails, and state-of-the-art amphitheaters like this one, where rangers use projection video and surround sound, or just simple touchable props, to run near daily programs for all different age groups. This one had children, most of whom were camping with their families nearby, enthralled as they learned about the wildlife at the park. They got to touch their pelts.
Oh, that's so interesting how thick it is.
Yeah, it's very warm. This hair is actually hollow, which gives more of an insulation quality.
Examine their skulls, like that of a barred owl.
The eye sockets are incredibly large, so they have very good night vision, which helps them with their hunting.
And see how the animals have adapted to the cold winters here. The snowshoe hare changes color to camouflage itself during the winter. And that's not all.
Really big.
Yeah, look how furry.
Feet. And if you've ever tried to walk in deep snow, you know how difficult it is, but they've got these built-in shoes.
Clearly, adults love this stuff too. Want to know why owls can fly so silently? This fringe along the front of their wings makes all the difference.
They're from another type of bird, such as a crow or raven. You can hear how loud that is, versus this would represent that fringed edge. You can see how that doesn't make a sound.
Silent. Which brings us back to where we started here on the Schoodic Peninsula, the silence. If that's what you're looking for in a national park experience, the Schoodic Peninsula, with its quiet, rocky beaches, makes it worth going the extra miles.
A luminous night filled with hundreds of flickering candles. Attendees continue to hold out hope for the 4 Maine mariners lost at sea.
Strength in numbers is the most important thing that you can have. And relying on one another and hoping and convincing each other and believing and being positive that there is going to be good come out of this and they're going to find their way home.
Students, graduates, and even community members lean on each other, give out hugs, wipe tears, and say blessings for the missing crew members of the sunken El Faro.
Just hoping for a positive outcome to this story, and there's just thousands of people around this country right now that are graduates that are just waiting for some good news.
You're in the worst, case scenario. You don't give up. You keep fighting. You go back to the basics that are taught on day one.
Students at Maine Maritime Academy say you have to have a real fighting attitude towards the sea and learn to embrace the unknown waters.
It's really scary because you never think it's going to happen to you, but it is a reality of the maritime industry that it is dangerous and people go out there and put their lives on the line every day.
Even in this day and age with better safety standards and better ships, and I think that's just part of the nature of being a student and being a mariner, is that you like a challenge.
A challenge this community is up for.
Just holding out hope, and maybe there'll be a good end to this story.
In Castine, Caitlin Channa, News Center.
Buried alive. That's more or less how Lester Bouldry spends every day of his life.
It's embarrassing. I don't want nobody here. I hate to see, like a friend come. I wouldn't want him around. I'd love to have a place that I could be proud of.
He says he moved to his parents' land years ago to take care of them in their old age. When they passed away, he inherited the land, the home, and he says the mess inside.
I don't know why my parents were such pack rats, but I don't think they ever threw a newspaper away.
Over the past 7+ years, the collection has accumulated, now escalating to the point where Bouldry and the town of Maxfield have agreed that the mess needs to be gone by this Friday, July 1st.
We continue to go further than what we had in the last 7 years. It's because of the complaints that we were getting.
But on top of the quickly approaching deadline and having to clean up the mess, there's another added challenge.
Degenerative disc disease and severe arthritis.
He is now confined to a wheelchair. Mr. Bouldry spent most of his life working at the Passadumkeag and Old Town Mills before they closed.
If the mill was still there, I might have even been able to work. I didn't have nothing but to sit in like a little office.
Maxfield Town Select person Marjorie Sage said that over the years, the town has been incredibly patient with Mr. Bouldry's situation, even waiving lawyer fees and penalties. They've been asking him to get it cleaned up for 7 years. For the town, it's a public health issue.
It's obligation to look out for the health and safety and well-being of its citizens, including Mr. Bouldry.
But his fiancée still fears about what could happen if the mess isn't cleaned up soon.
I really don't want to have to sleep in a vehicle. You know, that's just, you know, it's not what I picture my life to be.
But it's very hard physically and emotionally.
In Maxfield, Christina Rex, News Center.
If you just follow me a little bit, we'll look down on the ground here and look at it right down here. It's nice, light, and fluffy. Though I did talk to some drivers just a few minutes ago, and they said it feels really slick right underneath. You just can't see it on the road.
They are ready for a change. The skate park has been in several locations around the Queen City for more than 10 years. A location process for the new park has started. Tentative new locations for the new park include behind the Parks and Rec Department, the Bangor waterfront, or possibly in another park.
Nice coating. And the roads, I will say, not super icy, not too slippery, but there is definitely a coating of snow. We have seen the plows out working hard, but there is still snow on many roads in this area. So I will say you definitely need to go slower, and visibility is a bit rough too.
Their gear type rather than to continue to only use the type that they were previously authorized for. And as you said, Lee, that starts today at noon. Hopefully the snow and the cold won't have any negative effect on it. I'm going to send it back to you for now.